I was asked to investigate the case of a young collier, his wife and 2 children. I soon found the house, or rather dwelling. There were 2 rooms, one up and one downstairs. A door in the room below leading to the stair. All the furniture they possessed was in the room below. A bed, a chair, a rickety chest of drawers, and a small, round, 3-legged table. Not a vestige of comfort. There was no fire, only a handful of burnt-out cinders and ash in the grate. A man of about 25 sat beside it. In the bed was a young woman, about 23. She was white and wan, and looked dazed. She was holding a week-old baby to her empty breast. Over her cotton nightie was her husband's waistcoat. Over her knees, his coat. These were the only coverings of any warmth. It was so pitiful I did not know what to say, except, "I've come to help you, but I thought there were 2 children." "There was 3 days ago," the woman said. "Show her, Jem." The man got up heavily and went and opened the bottom drawer of the rickety chest. There lay a little dead child, about 2 or 3 years old, her tiny hands folded on her breast, over her tiny striped nightie, and a look of infinite calm and pathos on her little worn face. It seemed to illuminate that dingy drawer. "Oh," I gasped, "why is she here?" The man said, "We be waiting for parish to come and bury her." The mother said, "We couldn't find it in our hearts to put her upstairs alone in an empty room." I stood still, the tears pouring down my cheeks and sob choking me. But the parents shed not a tear, nor said a word, except when Jem closed the drawer. He said, "She were a nice little lass, she were."
Mrs. John Brown did social work with poor families in Burnley. In the second half of the 19th century, a large number of the population, as she saw, still lived and died in conditions of squalor and poverty. In the 1880s, a businessman, Charles Booth, suspecting that reports of poverty were exaggerated, surveyed the East End of London. He was shocked by his own findings.
In the population under review, the 100,000 very poor are at all times ill-nourished and poorly clad. From day to day and from hand to mouth, they get by, sometimes suffering, sometimes helped. Their whole income is absorbed by necessary expenditure. It is only by evading the payment of rent or going short of food that clothes and other household goods can be bought. This is the poorest case on my list, but it is typical of a great many others. The man is a casual dock labourer, aged 38, in poor health. His wife of 43 suffers from tuberculosis. The son of 18, who earns 8 shillings regular wage as a carman's boy, and 2 girls of 8 and 6 complete the family. Practically no meat is bought. The food consists principally of bread, margarine, tea and sugar. The neighbouring clergy send soup 2 or 3 times a week. This diet is somewhat varied, so as to bring in some fish, a bit of bacon, and a few eggs, besides the charitable soup. These people are undoubtedly very poor.
Millions continue to suffer diseases like tuberculosis, which spread easily in overcrowding. As the reformer Octavia Hill saw, the living conditions of the poor had changed little.
About 4 years ago, I was put in possession of 3 houses in one of the worst courts in Marylebone. The houses were in a deplorable condition. Plaster was dropping from the walls. A pail had been placed to catch the rain that fell through the roof. All the staircases were perfectly dark. The inhabitants had to wash clothes as well as to cook, eat and sleep in their small rooms.
Reverend Samuel Barnett compared the health of the rich and the poor.
What is it to the poor that it has been proved how cleanliness is the secret of health? They cannot have the latest sanitary appliances. They cannot take baths in their narrow homes or have constant change of clothing. Good news is the message of modern time, with its discoveries and its inventions. One class in the nation rejoices in the good news. The rich in England hear the message of science. The mother among the poor, in her joy that a son is born into the world, cannot look forward to his life. What is it to her that science has proved stronger than disease? Society is out of sorts, and the disease is that its most important member is ignorant of the good news. Miserable dwellings, ill-fed bodies, starvation and degradation are symptoms of this disease.
The late 19th century reformers highlighted the connection between poverty and disease. They campaigned for measures to tackle this health problem. Was action taken to improve the health of the poor? Seabohm Rowntree researched poverty in York as Charles Booth had in London. His 1901 report concluded that 25 to 30% of the town population of Britain still lived in poverty. Large numbers of the volunteers at the time of the Boer War were found to be suffering from tuberculosis and diseases of malnutrition, like rickets. These findings led to fears of a general physical decline among the people of Britain. A series of state-funded welfare measures were put in place. Education Acts in 1906 and 1907 introduced school meals and medical inspections into schools to be paid for out of the local rates. In 1911, a health scheme was introduced. Workers and employers were compelled to pay into a fund to which the state would add money from taxes. The fund was to pay for medical treatment, medicine, and sickness benefit for those off work through illness. Some found the measures too limited. At a speech in 1909, the MP Keir Hardie called them
a sticking plaster to cover the disease that poverty causes.
Public health in the 19th century was a problem on a massive scale. Even after better sanitation and clean water were provided, there still remained a colossal problem of ill health caused by poverty. The first decade of the 20th century made just a start on measures to deal with this.